Cheetah, one of Wonder Woman's oldest and most ferocious villains. But is this red platinum worth the hunt? Hey all you cool cats and kittens, and welcome to 5 Points of Articulation. Today, I'm taking a look at the new Page Puncher's Pricilla Rich. Huge thanks to McFarlane Toys for making this video possible by sending her to me to review. Starting with the packaging, and Page Punchers come in plastic clamshells. We got names and logos down here, along with the red platinum sticker. While I did see her up for pre-orders briefly, that red platinum means you're mainly going to find her in-store. So to help all of you big cat hunters out there, here's the UPC. One thing I really like about the Page Punchers box is how they use the comic book as the backer art. This one's a reprint of Crisis on Infinite Earths number 9, and is pretty much a checklist of all the villains I hope we get before it's too late. For packaging, I'm giving Cheetah 4 points. Moving on to presentation, and it's time to let the cat out. A smaller figure, and Cheetah stands at only 6.5 inches, or 16.5 centimeters, and like many a McFarlane female figure, started out as Nightfall Catwoman. Cheetah is one of Wonder Woman's oldest and most enduring villains. The Pricilla Rich version debuted all the way back in Wonder Woman number 6. She's a socialite with a split personality and a deep jealousy of Wonder Woman. Unlike previous Catwoman repaints, Priscilla's been given a new torso. That means we don't have any zipper running down the middle. That new tooling also accommodates this tail. It's just a hard plastic piece and does not have any movement. She also has these new clawed feet. Nice job painting those toenails. Thanks to those flat feet, she does stand a bit easier than Selena. And while I've always found this version of Cheetah a bit silly, I think McFarlane's done a really good job on the head. Things like the rounded ears are accurate to both the character and to, well, real-life cheetahs. You'll also notice the seam for the faceplates, but because it aligns with the mask, it works out very well. I also think McFarlane's done a really good job on all the spots. Flipping it around back, we can see more of those. The arms are reused from Catwoman, so you do get the seam of those gloves, but it's not really that obvious. The only thing that takes me out of the figure are the boots. Referring back to the comic, and Cheetah's supposed to be in a simple bodysuit, but because of the Catwoman reuse, she has these thigh-high boots that just really kind of break up the whole thing for me. That's actually the only real complaint I have about this whole figure. Well, that and the size, but scaling is more of a conversation for playability. Thanks to new tooling like the tail, I'd love to see this updated body used for a long Halloween Catwoman, or maybe even a year one. That said, it's a great base for Pricilla, with my only criticism being those thigh highs. For presentation, I'm giving this Cheetah 4 points. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this video so far, do me a favor and slash that like button. Moving on to Poseability, and that's a very important category for a character like Cheetah. Working our way top down, and her head is on a dumbbell joint, unencumbered by extra long hair, and Pricilla can look up this high for perspective, and here's looking straight ahead, and she can look all the way down. Wonderful amount of side-to-side tilt, and all the way around. Moving on down, she can raise her arms 90 degrees, and gets complete rotation at the shoulders. She also benefits a bit from that multi-directional rotator cuff, and then working her way down the arm, Pricilla has bicep swivel, double jointed elbow with a perfect bend, and wrist balls that can swivel and hinge either up and down or side to side. Shifting to the torso, and Cheetah has a diaphragm joint and a ball jointed waist. Keep in mind it has been retooled a bit, so I am curious if there's any extra range. First things first, she can arch back this far, which is great. For contrast, and here standing straight, she does get a bit of hunch forward, pretty much the same as Catwoman. That's of course something I would always like to see more of. She's got a decent enough side-to-side tilt, along with twist at the diaphragm and also the waist. Below the waist, and Cheetah has the standard McFarlane hips. She can kick this high, which is just fantastic. This far back, which isn't too bad. Plus, this Pricilla gets a perfect split. No articulation in the tail, but given how DC Multiverse figures are engineered, I don't really know how tail articulation would have worked. Maybe a bendy wire, but again, based on how it's attached, I'm not sure if that would have worked. Back to the legs though, and not only is there twist in the hip, she can twist inward this far, which is pretty impressive without being a thigh cut. Outward though, and not so much. Very deep bend, however, on that double jointed knee, along with toe articulation, and ankle balls that can swivel, hinge, and like the mantle of Cheetah, going from Pricilla Rich to Deborah Domain to Barbara Minerva, Pivot, docking her only for the limited hunch forward for Poseability, and Cheetah gets 4 points. Moving on to Playability, and Cheetah has a trading card and a figure stand. If you want to read what that says, you can pause here. That image, of course, is taken from the cover of the comic. This seminal storyline is by Marv Wolfman, George Perez, and Jerry Ordway. She also comes with some really great accessories. Throughout the video, we've been looking at these claws. For an extra pair of paws, though, and Pricilla comes with these accessory holding ones. More importantly, she comes with 2 extra face plates. So then, in addition to this generally stern-looking one she comes pre-packed with, Pricilla also has this smug, self-satisfied smirk, not to mention this one where she's angrily baring her teeth. Swappable faces is probably one of my favorite things that McFarlane's been doing lately, and for a character like this where it would have been really easy just to give her a pair of hands and call it a day, I'm really grateful. With this probably being the only version of Pricilla that we're going to be getting in DC Multiverse, it really does feel like they went all out. For the scariest of all, though, you could always pose her like this. Ugh. But Playability is more than just reprints and swappable parts. It's also about how well your figure plays with others. Starting with my only other Cheetah, and for the version I most hope McFarlane makes, here's Barbara Minerva from DC Essentials. That said, and for some of Priscilla's pals in the Legion of Doom, and here we have Riddler and Scarecrow, Black Manta and Captain Cold, and Lex Luthor and Bizarro. This Bizarro is the one built on the Action Comics 1000 body, which is a perfect segue to Action Comics 1000 Superman and the rest of the Super Friends. For your consideration, we also have Hush and DCU Classic. Those scale pretty well. It's when we get to Silver Age that the size difference starts to become more apparent. Same thing if your preferred classic Batman is the gold label Year 2. That said, Nightfall and Silver Age scale just fine. On the subject of Silver Age, I don't have the official Silver Age Aquaman. I just use Endless Winter with a Flashpoint Barry Allen head, but I'm happy with this. That brings us to Flashpoint Barry himself, as well as Silver Age Green Lantern. For the most important comparisons, however, and here we have Wonder Woman. That classic style collector edition absolutely towers over Pricilla. Same thing with Rebirth, though I don't really see why these versions of these characters would ever meet. Page Punchers is similarly statuesque. It almost feels like they're 2 entirely different scales. To really see what I mean, here's the Mattel DC Universe Classics version. She's only slightly smaller than Cheetah. For one of the most beloved Dianas, however, and here's the DC Direct Terry Dodson version, these actually scale really well, and while this JLA version is pushing it, I think it works out pretty well too. For a Wonder Woman supporting character, and here's Steve Trevor, but for a relative scale comparison, here's Pricilla with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man. Notice how the Marvel Legends is only slightly smaller, and as always, here she is with Stealth Iron Man. I am delighted to be able to include Cheetah with my DC Multiverse style Legion of Doom, and I'm really hoping we can get these versions of Sinestro and Brainiac before it's too late. And don't even get me started on a Solomon Grundy or a Giganta Megafig. I also love the swappable faces. And you know what? I also wouldn't mind if they used this figure as a base for a Deborah Domain Cheetah, hoping of course that they would get rid of the thigh highs. From a scaling perspective, however, the height difference between Diana and Pricilla is pretty distracting. For display purposes, you can always ameliorate that height discrepancy by playing with elevation. In Cheetah's defense, though, Wonder Woman is pretty tall even as compared to her other male heroes. I also think we can give Pricilla a little bit more leeway for being short, seeing that she is a female character. Specifically, a character whose defining trait is her envy of Wonder Woman. If we get a Barbara Minerva, and I hope we do, she definitely needs to be bigger and more bestial, but for Pricilla, I'm happy. Especially when you factor in things like the alternate faceplates. Even so, and because of the scaling issue, for playability, I am giving the Page Punchers Cheetah 4 points. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. If you find this Cheetah in the wild, she'll set you back between $28 at most stores to $30 at stores like GameStop. Unfortunately, because it's a Red Platinum, in stores the only way you're gonna get her. Unless, of course, you want to pay $70 on eBay. She's still relatively new to market, so I wouldn't give up the chase just yet. Still, the fact that it is this hard to get a character we've been waiting this long for is a spot against her. Overall, though, and I would say that this is a Cheetah that does win. For price, I'm giving Cheetah 3 points, averaging out to a grand total of 3.8 out of 5. Once again, and huge thanks to McFarlane Toys for sending her my way. For more Wonder Woman related videos, check out one of these, and until next time, play nice and have fun.